Hey guys, it's Chris Williams, and welcome to more of our postseason coverage of the Iowa State men's basketball team heading to the NCAA Tournament coming up this week in Omaha. Fired up for this. We couldn't do anything what we're doing without all of our great sponsors this March. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Karl Auto Group. They've been with us for a long time, and we're getting into that spring car buying market. Remember our friends Karl Auto Group all over the great state of Iowa. We've got our newest sponsor, Central States Roofing. Fantastic locally owned company, huge Cyclone supporters. Check them out. Of course, we have Keen Project Solutions, Fairway Meat and Grocery, and my pals over at Country Landscapes. It is a machine to do what we do during the month of March. We will have boots on the ground in Kansas City, Stanford, Omaha. We're all over the place with the clones coming up in this next week. Wrestling, football, we have spring football going on too, believe it or not. We have women's basketball, of course, men's basketball. And to be a part of our coverage here, I'm going to throw it over to my guys. Dylan and Nigel, the Let 'em Cook boys, are doing our NCAA men's preview show, and it starts right now on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
Nigel, it is the best time of year. This is the Cyclone Fanatic March Madness kind of bracket breakdown here. If you guys want to listen, Nigel and I are going to touch on the Houston game in the Big 12 Championship a little bit off the top. But if you want kind of a full rundown of the Big 12 tournament, Chris Williams and Brent Bloom, listen to their podcast. They were in Kansas City, got a great breakdown of what happened, a great weekend for Cyclones. So Nigel, let's just start hot here. Going into the Houston game, what did you expect? Because I think you'd be hard pressed to find an Iowa State fan that was like, I think we're going to win by 30 points comfortable.
Yeah, no, like you said, I mean, really, I wasn't expecting that at all. Happy it was happening. But again, I thought, when two teams have already played each other twice, and then you have that third opportunity in a championship setting, I always just kind of assume it's going to be a rock fight. And, the last few games between Houston have been rock fights. So I'm like, I don't see it changing. And then again, changing this drastically to where, it's kind of just like over kind of halfway through the first half. It seemed like just because, guys got rolling and started hitting shots when they needed to. And it was offensively, it was like our most put together game. And I think really like that was the bar of like hitting your full potential. And I hope that's not a peak of the season. Like that's it. And the rest is plateaued or it's worse. But man, I mean, if you continue to play like that and just carry that momentum, obviously use this week for rest. If you're continuing to play like that going into this week and next week, you're going to be a dangerous team. I don't care who's in front of you.
Yeah, I think that was the best 40 minutes of basketball Iowa State has played all year. I think Milan Momcilovic looked like he got his swagger back. I mean, he was hitting step back, spin, fades, corner three. He just like, looked back to his old self. I mean, he was just cooking.
He plays like he doesn't care.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
Very nonchalant.
Who made this kid?
Yeah,
he's different. He's different. But yeah, no, go ahead.
I think that was that was kind of best case scenario. I feel like we've had a couple guys maybe in a bit of a slump. Even Keyshawn kind of down the stretch, Keyshawn Gilbert has been kind of forcing the issue at times, going into the lane without a great plan on what he's going to do when he gets to the rim. He played incredible in Kansas City, most outstanding player. So I think, it was kind of thrown around on, hey, if Iowa State loses right away, we get a couple more days of rest. It's not that big of a deal. Who cares about Kansas City this year? Turns out just looking like the best team in America 3 days in a row, it is awesome. So no regrets in that respect. However, let's keep talking about Houston. What else did you take away from the Houston game? I think in a way it did hurt us, but I'll open the floor back to you.
Okay, looking back at, obviously we know the seeding and it's no, even people who are watching this, it's no news to where we are and whatnot and what region we're in. But I really thought it was going to be like, like we got Carolina. And then you watch the Carolina NC State game and it's like, they just got cooked by DJ Burns. Like they're cooked. they're getting crunched. I just thought they were going to be a 2 seed after that performance. And just given how dominant we were for 40 minutes, I thought Iowa State kind of had a 1 seed on lock, and then you get the worst 2nd seed. So it, like we were talking about it before the episode started, and just how it seems to be like, despite this being the best conference in America, people have been saying it all season. It's like people don't care that you won the tournament, and the 2 best teams. It wasn't like Baylor, usually when they're the top dog in the conference tournament, they usually lose in the first round on purpose just to prepare for the tournament. Houston didn't play that. They were trying to set the tone for their first year in the Big 12, so they made it to the championship for obvious reasons, and we made it to the championship. So the 2 best teams made the championship at a 14-team tournament, and the fact that people are gonna be like, yeah, this game didn't matter, like it's tough. But nonetheless, what I liked about it was I loved, obviously, Milan, Keyshawn, and then a sleeper on Saturday was Hassan. Like,
did really well,
getting head taps. I mean, the guy he was on one. And then obviously, Omaha, I feel like even if it's like in spurts of he's in the game, like he's making a difference. I don't care if he doesn't have a a statistical, category filled. It doesn't matter. I feel like his energy, whether he's on the bench or not, he's just a good teammate, and he's a good person to have out there, especially with Watson coming back from an injury. But man, I was very pleased with how dominant Milan was from the start, because it's almost like his performance alone was what put us in front of Houston and really put us ahead, 20 points, because he had 18 of those,
Right.
So I just feel like we didn't even have our most well-balanced, I guess, dominant performance for it to be a dominant performance. So I feel like, again, it just goes back to our defense is our identity, and that just needs to be our calling, come March, because anyone can beat you. And like we've seen in our region, it's not going to be easy, but it is what it is. I liked TJ's demeanor in his press conference yesterday. I feel like he was very calm despite, the personal, I guess, conflict it comes with when beating your old team or trying to beat your old team. And then obviously Drake is a potential matchup in the next round. So I just feel like he's kind of not trying to look at all those distractions and just trying to keep the main thing, which I think is very important, especially this time of the year.
Yeah, I gotta just my last thoughts on Houston, then we'll get down to kind of the path that Iowa State drew. If you don't think the Big 12 tournament meant something to Houston, ask Texas Tech, who just got their doors blown off by Houston. I mean, I think Houston came to Kansas City wanting to win the conference regular season and wanting to win the conference tournament. And I think they just got punked. I think they came into the championship game fully expecting to win, and Iowa State from start to finish was a better team. Also, I want to shout out your guy, Cade Kelderman, getting a garbage time 3. Looked good. Shot
that baby from Yucatan.
Looked good.
Waukee legend.
Yeah,
mind you.
Shout out Waukee, Iowa.
That is not the first big 3 he's hit. I was just like, man, that kid is on one. And then obviously, it's storybook. You score the final point of the game and it's to 69. Disney Channel couldn't write a better script. I mean, just beautiful. Anywho, I did want to say, though, shout out to Cyclone Nation. I was very pleased with the turnout. I was very adamant on, following Channel 13, Channel 8, just to get like the kind of behind the scenes, just kind of, interactions with fans. And then obviously the content KCCI got after the game was gold with just, after the game shots and whatnot. But man, just to see that many people, make a difference in that game. I think that was the difference. I think that for, Curtis maybe not having the biggest high scoring game, Taman, 9 points, nothing crazy. I feel like a big part in that win was the crowd. It felt like another home game. And I know that when you're on neutral courts settings, like for Houston, that can rattle you, because it's like, we're not even in names. What's going on? And it was such a big difference that even Kelvin Sampson in his press conference was like, yo, like that crowd is insane. Like these fans are crazy. And he's like, that's probably one of the best like environments I've been in as a coach, especially in this tournament, which, that's a huge reflection on us. And just, I know it's, in the middle of spring break, you don't have to be here as an Iowa State fan in Kansas City cheering on a tournament that quote unquote doesn't matter. But I'm saying that sarcastically for all our like radio listeners and whatnot. Yeah. But nonetheless, it says a lot about how much we care about this team, how much we care about this university. You know, rain, sleet, snow, it don't matter, bro. People are showing up to KC, probably a few beers deep, but that's okay because you're here, you're loud, you're proud, and it's just such a difference, and especially in a game like this. Like it was the extra oomph that you needed, I guess, off like when I guess other guys didn't have their best day offensively. But again, just so many things to be proud of this group. And if things don't go our way in the tournament, like this was a weekend to remember, and this is a weekend that this team specifically, I think, will be remembered for.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The one thing, and then I promise we're gonna get down to the bracket.
Yeah,
I
sorry about
really
that.
think if Iowa State would have lost to Baylor, I think Iowa State would have gotten. I mean, if you switch Iowa State and Baylor where they are, I'd like to see Iowa State and Omaha still, obviously. But if Iowa State is in Baylor's position, I think that's a better draw. And that's what sucks is it feels like, and even if it's not true, it's how it feels as a fan. Iowa State got punished for winning what I think is the hardest conference tournament to win in the country. We got punished for it. Makes no sense to me. And like you said, I think a lot of Iowa State fans were like, hey, if North Carolina loses after we just beat Houston by 28, let's see. Like, I think we have a top 5 resume. I still think we do a top 5 resume. And I think North Carolina has to prove it to the committee and go out and beat, let's face it, not a great North Carolina State team to earn that 1 seed. They didn't win. They lost. Iowa State just beat the number 1 team by 28, beat the number 9 team by 14 the day before. And we went from, before the tournament, we were the committee's 9th best team, have 2 top 10 wins by a combined total of 42 points, and we're the 8th best team. What are we doing? Like going forward, I don't know why, these teams like Iowa State who have a 2 seed just bench your players. If the committee's going to tell you, hey, conference tournaments don't matter to us, treat them like bowl games, man. Like, what are we doing? Like, you got to reward teams for playing great games. And, I think the committee sometimes almost is too recency bias. Not this time. I think Iowa State is playing as good as any team in the country right now, and it just did not matter. I was just kind of blown away by the decisions the committee made up and down the board. We'll get to it, but it was just disappointing. I think Iowa State had a great 3-game stretch, played 2 top 3, 3 seed or better, and then Kansas State, who's going to be in the NIT, that they just lost to, beat them, beat Baylor by 14, beat Houston by 28. And the reward is you're in the toughest region in the entire bracket with the number 1 overall seed, kitty corner. So that's,
and I think too with the ACC, you brought up North Carolina, but like this isn't even the most compelling ACC year that they've had. Like in 2022, when they had 2 teams make the Final Four, one was a 2 seed and one was an 8 seed. Yeah. So what about this year like makes them so fit out for a 1 seed is beyond me. And I feel like you said, it's like this is the one time people aren't using recency bias when they usually do. And it's almost like they wanted to pick the teams they already kind of had in their mind back in November, because we talked about it. Arizona, Purdue. Yeah. I know North Carolina was up there at first. Just those type of guys that were kind of easy picks to give the benefit of the doubt to. And a team like Iowa State, who you can immediately, try to pull the out of conference schedule wasn't that compelling, bro. It doesn't matter when you plan the gauntlet of a conference season. It overcompensates for that. God forbid we had a few more challenging games. Like next year, they'll be in Maui. So it's like, what are they going to say? Say we have the same type of year next year. Are they going to say the same thing? I just think it's a matter of like you said, teams like Iowa State just don't get respect. You're going to have to go out there and earn it. And if that can't be enough fuel for this team with this much talent, this much grit, this much heart, I don't know what will. Because it just seems to be like those teams who have kind of touched the Final Four already, people want to get in the Final Four, they're always going to get the benefit of the doubt because people are lazy. And I feel like the committee is very lazy. They don't take pride in their job. They also have to, I feel like networks are also trying to push a lot of narratives and storylines this year because the way a lot of brackets are pulled out, I'm like, yo, y'all did this on purpose. South Dakota State, really? We couldn't have played, I don't know, Grambling, like Really, South Dakota State? That was the guy. That no one else, but South Dakota State. And then who's this? Our little brother Drake. This Drake. I mean, come on, bro. Like, this is crazy. And then don't even get me started on the UNC side of the bracket, because ironically, number 1 seed, RJ Davis and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Guess the number 2 seed, Caleb Love and the Arizona Wildcats. Gee, wonder who's thought that one out. It's corny. Just seed them, like, balance out the tournament. Don't overpower one side so that half the good teams are done in a week and a half. You know, like, we want to see these teams play in late March, early April. And I feel like we're not going to be able to see that. And people are like encouraging upsets, encouraging those narratives. And it's just kind of ruining the tournament before it even starts. It makes it very predictable for a lot of, brackets. And and it's very frustrating to call like this Iowa State team the last 2 seed is offensive. I thought at the worst, after the Big 12 tournament, we were going to be the best 2 seed. Right. But to be at number 8, man, people are taking crazy pills.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Jay Billis, who has had some bad takes recently, but I think one of his best takes is, the tournament is idiot proof. You can put teams wherever you want them. You're going to get narratives and storylines strictly based off the structure of a one and done tournament full of buzzer beaters, full of madness, full of upsets. You're going to get storylines organically. You do not have to, take a team 3 seeds off what seed line they should be at just to be like, oh, well, if 2 teams win 3 games, they might face each other in the Elite 8. Like, you don't got to do, like, there's going to be great games. Like, I think you're exactly right. I would trust a bunch of dudes, that are on Bracket Matrix, and they take this so seriously. They're not athletic directors. They're not, like, directly.
They're not working for True TV and TNT.
Right. They don't even understand how, TV networks work. They don't care about it. They care about looking at the analytics, what seed line that team should be based on historical data, net ranking, quad 1 wins. I mean, just kind of the meat and potatoes of how you rank teams. They don't care about storylines. They are looking at numbers all day, every day. And that's what the committee should be doing. You're going to have great games. You're going to have great matchups. Don't force things. So let's go into what I think you brought up. They forced, TJ Otzelberger to play his former team and coach against, a guy that has been his assistant coach for years, Eric Henderson. Luckily, Aiden and I were talking before the show. I don't think TJ's coaching style looks anything similar to what it did at South Dakota State. That team was known, while he was there, that team was known to score a lot of points, didn't play a lot of defense. And honestly, they played through their post. Mike Dahm was an incredible college basketball player. And, TJ hasn't really had a guy like that since Mike Dahm. So, maybe if that happens, it'll go back to that. But basically what I'm saying is, I don't think Eric Henderson has any kind of inside intel on how the Cyclones play. They look like 2 different teams compared to when Otz was at South Dakota State to what he does at Iowa State now. And honestly, I love my bunnies. For those that don't know, I went to South Dakota State for a semester. I watched a lot of South Dakota State basketball. My Jackrabbits forever and always. But, even in South Dakota State's terms, this is not one of their best teams. They've been a 12 seed. They've been a sneaky 13, a sneaky 14 seed. And even, sadly, some of their best teams haven't even made the tournament because they lose their, conference tournament final and they're in the NIT. So, from a South Dakota State perspective, I think even their fans would say, we won the Summit League, but this isn't, out of the last 10 years, I wouldn't say this is a top 3 South Dakota State team. What I will say, even their strengths kind of fall into Iowa State's strengths. They're a great 2-point shooting offensive team. They like to get to the glass. Against a no middle defense as good as Iowa State's, would just, you're not going to be able to do that. Or if you are, it's going to be extremely hard and you're going to have to earn every single 2-point shot you get. And then they're 19th in offensive effective field goal percentage. But again, the Summit League does not have defenses like Iowa State. They don't have athletes like Iowa State. They don't have the physicality. I think South Dakota State is going to be kind of in a, that's a team that is not used to the physical style of play that Iowa State has. I will say a name to look out for in the One Shining Moment montage. We might see William Kyle III do a cockback tomahawk dunk within the first 10 minutes of the game.
Why are you
might
manifesting that, bro?
I don't know if you saw the quarterfinals of the Summit League. He had like 7 dunks and like 3 of them were like top 10 level. So he, super good. If he gets loose in transition, he can throw down some crazy stuff. But this team at a glance, I think their strengths kind of play into Iowa State. That's what I want to see a team be good at if they're playing Iowa State is 2-point percentage offense, because that's just what Iowa State is built to not let you do. So I actually think that's a good matchup. But again, exactly like you said, why couldn't we get a Grambling State? Why couldn't we get a Montana State out of the
We
big
got too many 15s and 16s to pick. Long Beach State,
right? Sure,
we can't play some West Coast boys.
Bring them in.
Gotta be. And this, bro, this is my problem, man. I'm not afraid of South Dakota State, like X's and O's wise. Like I'm really not. It's the emotional, I guess, task of having to take down. Like there's gonna be, and it's like I feel like like you said, we are pushing narratives. I feel like people are making graphics in advance, and they're gonna get the shot at TJ and the South Dakota State coach hugging it out before the game. Right. They're like, oh, these guys go way back. And it's just like, bro, like, we don't care. Play the game. Like, oh my God. Anywho, and then you go to Drake, and it's like, I don't know DeVries and Otz's relationship, but then I know it probably was, a no-brainer. Iowa State at some point was probably trying to get Tucker in a Cyclone jersey. That didn't work out. And, Tucker probably always feels kind of a little, I guess, undershadowed when it comes to the 2 teams in the Des Moines area. Right. Like they time to, I know he didn't have the best game against Miami last year. Talk about a one shining moment. I think if anything happens at the Cyclones' demise, it's gonna be that kid. But that's another conversation for another day. If they beat Washington State, I just feel like you said, nothing this year is organic.
Yeah, and
we have enough preservatives in this world. We don't need a non-organic national tournament for college basketball. It's just, it's not good. It's not good for the sport. And I just think when you earn a 1 or 2 seed, that first game should be easy. Like, and I feel like you're playing any other 15 or 16 seed. This game is easy. I think this team runs away with it convincingly, but you add that element of, it's my old team. I got relationships with these people, blah, blah, blah. These people are trying to prove themselves too, because there's more motivation of let's take down TJ, who used to coach here. Right. And it's just like, bro, we're causing unnecessary motivation, and I'm already tired, and we haven't even started playing. So this tournament is already hard enough, winning 6 games in a row, trying to be perfect for 6 games. Add in this much kind of invisible adversity off the rip is crazy, especially for a team that had the year like Iowa State. So again, the committee is not going to respect you. You're going to have to go out there and take it. My advice to the Cyclones is take that shit, please, because I'm fed up. I'm fed up with the disrespect. I'm fed up with the fact that you need to make a Final Four in order to be given the benefit of the doubt. People aren't watching the actual games anymore. Like, why are you picking the brackets? You might as well, give this job to some interns that can just sit there and watch the games. It's sickening. And people always rely back to the old reliables, the Purdue's, the Arizonas, the UNCs. I'm like, bro, okay, they're good teams, but I can see all of them losing this weekend. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves, And if you're trying to make them a top seed just so they lose early and it's a big headline, stop. Just let them lose. Let the headlines come as they come. But like you said, this tournament is so chaotic that it's going to happen regardless. Relax. And I feel like it may not even be the committee, but the committee, True TV executives and TNT executives are coming in there trying to advise you guys to, we need this team with this team because, of the parallels of their no, I'd be like, get out of here. Okay. This tournament is becoming way too media friendly, where we're softball pitching, storylines and whatnot. And that's lazy journalism. I like when a story hits you out of nowhere, right? Because it's there. It's a moment, and now it's your job to go catch it. I think for KCCI, this is probably, a match made in heaven. You got Drake and Iowa State going to the same region. I know Scott Reister is probably happy as can be, because it's like, we don't have to make 2 trips. This is awesome. but the NCAA tournament ain't for KCCI and Scott Reister, and I love those people, but that's what it is, you know. And I think I've made my point, but I would say you're gonna have to go out there and prove yourself every game, 6 games in a row for 40 minutes. And I think if any team has a mental toughness and fortitude to do so, it's this group.
Here's where I'm at. This is my one take on the committee too, because this is what they do. I got a couple things actually. What I think, and I was just talking about this morning, and I realized this is what the women do, and I don't know why the men don't. They have their major conference tournaments the week before. It's like flip-flopped, and they'll have the mid-majors, right up until Selection Sunday. And I think that makes a lot more sense for 2 reasons. One, you're giving the best teams longer rest days. I mean, Iowa women haven't played a basketball game in, I don't know,
like an eternity.
Right. 13 days by the time they play their first game. And I would love to see that for the men's side too. We reward these, high power teams that are, going through a gauntlet of a conference schedule. Give them a week off. Sorry to the mid majors, but also I think you're going to see less upsets that way in the men's game if it is that way. But if you want the best Final Four teams, I think that's a casualty I'm fine to live with. And then the other thing is, if the selection committee has nothing to hide, live stream it. Put a camera up there, mic up the committee.
Show your faces.
Right. And
I don't know what any of you guys look like, but I guarantee it's a room full of pencil necks.
They do.
Show your faces.
I'm going to pump the brakes. Jamie Pollard is on the committee, but he can't.
Sorry,
he
Jamie.
Can't
You're not
vote
a pencil
for
neck.
Iowa State. So he can't be like.
So it's not his fault.
Taken out of the room. Right. Nonetheless, I think you put a camera up there, you mic everybody. I want to hear the arguments. I want to know who was like Iowa State beating, 2 top 10 teams by double digits. Keep them at the 8th best team. I want to know who said that. Let me know.
Is it is Jamie have to keep his mouth shut? Can he not have any input on this? He's got to just watch this chaos happen.
Step outside the room. I don't know if that's figuratively or if he just doesn't have input, but I've heard athletic directors, because for a long time Gary Barta was in it too.
Yeah.
I was former AD, and he also had no input on where your team ends up. But in terms of the other 67 teams, Jamie Pollard has a say. But nonetheless, I just want to know what's going on inside that room, because as soon as they release the bracket, they're all over CBS, saying, that's a great team, but we left them out of the tournament for XYZ. No, let me know what was said in the heat of the moment when you guys are literally crossing names off the list. I want to see the process. I want to understand how you came to the decision you came to, because I don't get it. I don't think many people understand the reasoning the committee had this year for bubble teams, for certain seed lines. I think the Mountain West got disrespected. The Big East only got 3 teams in. I think at a time this season, they were the 3rd best conference, top to bottom.
Yeah.
But I want to know. I want to see what's going on. I want to know why the decisions are made.
I think it's human nature of when you try to do something and you're taking in too many perspectives in directions.
Right.
You're trying to make something happen, but someone's like, oh, but we got to make sure we do this, and we got to make sure we do this, and we got to make sure we do this. I really think these TV networks were in the room too, saying we need certain matchups in certain brackets early so that people are engaged, because they're probably looking at graphs. No one's watching basketball. What happened to the game I love? Right. Thinking, oh, well, it's not fun to see a 2 seed play a 15 seed and they win by 30 in the first round. Tough. Play better. I don't know. It's stupid, because I just feel people are taking into consideration well, we got to make sure we have compelling matchups each round, and it's becoming less of a, I guess, like you said, or it's not organic anymore.
Yeah.
Really, that is the basis of the problem. And I feel with Illinois and Wisconsin playing right to the buzzer of the selection show, you still got captivating high seeds, still waiting to get their final say. It's not enough time in breathing room to actually, make sure everyone's seated correctly. Because I feel people, like you said, are making hasty decisions. We're not talking this out. We're not thinking about it. We're just being very impulsive in the moment. And it comes to, you said, it's better to do those last minute plug-in games. Do it for the mid majors, because they're already going to be low seeds anyway.
Right.
So it bothers me, man, that like people don't really take pride in it, but we have this big show and all this, showmanship in the show and all these deep dives of each team. Like we're doing so much work when really we're just being lazy. Like we're not really trying to make this tournament fair and make this tournament like even keel and balanced, because balance usually makes for the best Final Fours.
Right.
I'm very prideful on a good competitive Final Four. It's great when FAU and San Diego State have a close game coming down to a buzzer beater in the national semifinal. But do I want to see those two teams playing in that game? No. And if you're saying you do, you're part of the problem, because like I'm all for upset culture, but it comes a time where like you just can't have like everybody making it. Like, come on, bro. Like it's chaotic. And I mean, I just think we're trying to accommodate too much now to media and clicks and views and engagement, because I feel like some teams are tired of seeing blue bloods. And again, I get that. But a lot of these teams that were the top teams for majority of the season were not traditional blue bloods. Purdue's not a traditional blue blood. Arizona's not a traditional blue blood. Iowa State's not a traditional blue blood. Like, we're a wrestling school. I mean, that's probably how people talk about us. I can only imagine the disrespect we're getting right now. People are like, oh, well, they're a wrestling school. They got lucky. Yeah, you beat the number one team in the nation by 20, and that's luck. Okay. Anywho, even Houston, they're not a blue blood. So it's like people could have naturally seeded things correctly, and it still would have been a good, different tournament. Like, I don't think Duke's going to make it out of the round of 32. Like, and I'm being so real when I say that. Like, there's a lot of teams that can do some damage early on. And I think a lot of teams that are traditionally have a great tournament success, I don't think they got it this year. So naturally, we're going to see a national champion that isn't your traditional name. So let the tournament be the tournament. It's so frustrating, dude.
I think what it comes down to is, you got to let the seed lines fall. The least the committee can do is just start everybody in the right place. And then whatever madness happens afterwards, by all means. If another team is a better team that day, you got to live with that. But you got to have a fair starting line. If that, like, everyone's got to start on the same start line, and wherever they finish, whatever. But that's just kind of my gripe. Look at the East region. So we got 16 teams, maybe 17. I don't know if there's a play-in on the 16 line, if I'm being honest.
Stetson is for sure playing UConn.
It looks UConn. Like. Okay, so 16 teams in the East region. 11 of those teams won their conference tournament, including UConn won the Big East, Iowa State won the Big 12, Illinois won the Big 10, Auburn won the SEC. That's your 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 2 of the at-large teams were in the Final Four last year, FAU and San Diego State.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Like how? And then on top of that, 4 of the top 10 KenPom teams are in the same region. That just can't happen. I don't care what you have to move around. That just cannot happen. So I'm
telling you, they're trying to have like a FAU Northwestern game. Theoretically, is like the intensity that a game like that's going to have, and that's a quick example. That's me quick glancing at the bracket. That intensity of a game is going to have a Sweet 16 flow,
right?
Like, they're trying to get these 22-year-olds to be fighting for their lives. Like, off the rip, bro. Can't nobody breathe for a second? Like, this is crazy. And
Drew Bowie and John L. Davis very easily could be a Sweet 16. I mean, those are 2 incredible players.
I mean, Chris Collins, he's coached national championship teams. Like, this is, you got heavy hitters in the first. We don't need to see that.
Yep.
Like, imagine Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao duking it out, and they're the first fight of the night. Huh? Like, why are we doing this, man? This East region is a joke, and not because like there's bad teams in here. Every team is good. That's the problem. Like, and here's me out. Every team that makes the tournament is good. Like, there's 14 seeds that are 31-3.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to diss, these lower seeded mid-major teams, but have these teams that have already shown Final Four success. Let's put them in other areas because right now there's zero balance. And when there's no balance, man, I don't even think madness is the word anymore. I think we're just kind of botching what was already a good product.
Right.
Like the engagement doesn't need to be increased. Like if you weren't interested in March Madness before, this is not going to change it. This tournament, the East region has really stepped their game up. I'm going to tune in this year. No, if you didn't like it, you weren't going to like it. Now it's corny, man. And this is what happens. You get TV folk mixed with ball folk. Ideas get lost in what happened to the game I love, because this is a joke.
I will say, so, excuse me, the Big Ten championship ends, and my number one thought is just, I don't want to be the 2 seed in UConn's bracket. Like, I just don't let that happen. And what's crazy to me, and I'm going to shout out my dad, and then also Glenn Bierman, who you know from KCCI, because in terms of on the subject of last week, if we're done with the 90s, my knowledge of Iowa State hoops, football, what have you, pre-2000 is almost entirely from Scott Coon, or recently Glenn Bierman, who has been to almost every iconic Iowa State sports moment since probably 1995 almost. So that's where I get a lot of my knowledge from. And the thought of, I'm going to go back to the 2000 team. Iowa State, the talk about that team is, they should have been a 1 seed. They got screwed. They had to play Michigan State in Detroit at the Palace of Auburn Hills. And
that is the worst Michigan State team to play.
Oh my God.
That's the national championship team, right?
That's the team Cleves. Yeah. So, but my thought every time I hear that story is, thank God that would never happen now. Thank God that we have the understanding that that would never happen again. Well, God damn it, it's 2024, and look what happened. So I saw Omaha under the region. I'm sure a lot of other Cyclone fans, they saw Omaha pop up as that's where the 2 seed's going to play. And my heart just sank because I was like, we got screwed. But then to see the 7 and 10 be Washington State and Drake, and Nigel, this is where I want to break down these 2 teams. I was like, come the hell on. So let's talk about Drake and Washington State here. So I am very familiar with Drake. I watched him play basketball 3 straight days in a row. One thing that stood out to me, they do not let you get offensive rebounds. They are the number 1 defensive rebounding team in the country, which I didn't know at the time, but Ken Pom, they just don't let the other team get offensive rebounds.
They also haven't played Rob Jones, but it's a conversation for another day.
That's true. And exactly like you said, like Drake, I think Missouri Valley is a better conference this year than it was last year, but it's not the Big 12. I mean, they're not playing top 25 teams every night. Indiana State's a great team. Bradley's a great team. Drake's a great team. UNI was kind of up and down. But outside of that, it kind of falls off a little bit. Southern Illinois had 1 great player. So it's not like Drake going night in and night out, was trying to out-rebound, super athletic, big, strong, like it's not quite the same. It's a little bit apples to oranges. But the way they play basketball is Drake wants you to play a perfect game on offense. Drake does not turn the ball over. They do not allow offensive rebounds. So basically what they're telling you to do, whatever shot you take, it better be a good one because you're not getting a second chance on that possession. And then once they get the ball, they're not going to turn it over. So that scares me just because of how Iowa State, I call it forgiving basketball. We're going to force turnovers. We're going to try to attempt 20 more shots than the other team. We're going to crash the offensive glass. Lipsy's going to come flying in from 25 feet away from the basket and try to get an offensive rebound. I just don't know if that'll work against Drake. Plus, Tucker DeVries, who is first team cold ass white boy, is just a matchup nightmare. Like if he was a point guard, put Taman Lipsy on him and we'll live with it. If he's a center, double him in the post and make him kick out. He's a weird in between. I would guess Trey King is going to be guarding him a lot. Demarion Watson at times, maybe Curtis Jones.
I would toss Milan on him.
I don't know
if you want to have a length off. Pause.
He's cold. Like he's going to get to his spots. He's like, and if you double him, he's smart enough, coach's son, to find the open shooter. And Drake can shoot the 3 ball. Connor Enright is above a 40% 3-point shooter. Atten Wright is above a 40% 3-point shooter. Tucker DeVries shoots 36% from 3. It's a tough matchup. And not only is it, like you said, Drake is going to be like a chip on their shoulder. We play in Des Moines, the only team that get talked about in the state of Iowa, or Iowa and Iowa State. Here's our time. That's what they're going to be thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to get the best shot out of Drake. And I think X's and O's is a tough matchup for Iowa State. Drake avoids the things that Iowa State wants to do to you. And they've done it all season. It's not like they'll just turn it on. That's how they've won games, is not turning the ball over and not giving up second chance points.
And let's not forget too, man. I go back to at the end of the day, man, this bracket is corny. It's so corny. Like it, and you know, I can already see that if that matchup happens, man, they already got the graphics in the back burner. Oh, this is the Battle of Waukee, and they're gonna bring up every Waukee kid from each team. Look, they won a state championship together, then they broke up, and now they're playing each other again. Like, bro, the way I cannot fathom how predictable this year is going to be. And it's almost gonna like, because I'm one of those guys. I'm going to fill out all 25 brackets. I just want everyone to know that.
Gross. Can I interject here?
One sec.
Okay.
I just want to say this.
Okay. That's
so
terrible.
I feel like because of this region specifically, just that process for me is going to be very tough. I'm going to get mad after like number 12, and I'm probably going to throw my phone away. I'm just going to I'm done. But proceed. What were you going to say?
Tell the people out there, fill out one bracket. The worst sentence in March is, "Oh, I had that in one of my brackets."
I like the handwritten one. Like that is your real one.
Yeah. No, that's what I do.
I like to do the other ones just in case. Like, what if I win the cash prize, bro? In 2015, I was very close.
You have to be able to.
I do Kentucky and Wisconsin won, but I was like, man, that would have been good.
You got to be able to say, this is my number one bracket. This is the bracket that I took very seriously. And it turns out the 11th bracket I did that I was just kind of fooling around on, that's the one that did best. You can't claim that one as, oh, that's my bracket now.
I mean, yeah, you lose stamina after 5.
Okay.
Like, I'd be lying to you if I said I was just locked in for all 20. No, I'm tuning out after 5. So after that, things are just kind of happening. Thumbs are moving. Teams are advancing. It is what it is.
Clicking on teams.
Yeah.
The one thing, Drake has to beat Washington State. And I think as Iowa State fans, we have kind of naturally overlooked, we could play. And honestly, Washington State is a 7 seed and probably going to be favored in that game. Mm-hmm. But I think just naturally the dread, the pessimism of Iowa State fans, you're like,
well, it's in Omaha too.
Right. Yeah.
So like if Drake, I don't know if Drake has faithful. Sometimes the games I went to, they sometimes didn't even fill the gym, but that's okay. Right. So I don't know how well they travel. I know in Omaha, people are going to be traveling. People are going to KC, people are going to Omaha. That's just how it is. So the fans, I'm not worried about. I know y'all are going to bring it. I know y'all are going to, be intense for however long you need to be there. But yeah, if Drake wanted to travel, it's not that bad of a commute. So
they traveled well to St. Louis. There was probably more Bradley fans and more Indiana State fans, but Drake had the third most. Yeah. And then South Dakota State, as a South Dakota State, those fans travel incredibly well in football, FCS.
Town might be there.
State, yeah. And Sioux Falls is where a lot of South Dakota State fans live, and that's even closer to Omaha. That's about an hour south of Brookings. And, I-29 from Sioux Falls to Omaha, that's like an hour trip. So there's going to be a lot of blue and yellow. And again, that's a 15 seed, but South Dakota State fans will be there. They ride deep. The whole state of South Dakota, you're either a South Dakota State fan or a USD Coyote. So,
yeah. And to go back to these two teams specifically, just Drake and South Dakota State, South Dakota State is a team that Iowa State like scrimmages.
Yeah.
Like closed scrimmage, like 30 minutes. Let's just try to gauge where our team is at the beginning of the year. No one has an identity yet. Let's see where the team is. And Drake is obviously just the little brother when it comes to, the 30-mile radius, mid-major, Power 5. Like that's common sense. But it's almost like it was the biggest FU from the committee to where it's like, we're going to put you first 2 rounds. Hear me out. How funny would this be, guys? If we put Iowa State, a team that is really deserving of maybe a 1 seed, we make them the worst 2 seed, and then we give them 2 teams in the first 2 rounds with absolutely nothing to lose. Because if they lose to Iowa State, okay, we saw that coming. No biggie. Like, they have nothing to lose and all to gain. And I feel like no one else has that kind of immediate like chip. Because like Marquette, Western Kentucky, Tennessee, St. Peter's, without Doug the Thug. Are you kidding me?
No Doug. No Doug this year.
What, bro? Like, and then who else we got? Long Beach State.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a joke.
Fired the coach. Long Beach State fired their coach, and he's just still hanging around. That's a weird
guy.
Story.
I mean, bro, this is terrible. This is terrible. I people need to see me outside. All right, because I have a genuine problem with this. And if this is the route that we're gonna go, we're pushing narratives, we're putting specific teams in brackets early on so we can have things to talk about, bro. Y'all don't love basketball. What are you a committee of? Why are you on the committee for the best tournament in the world? Like, it's just we're making a mockery of what was already good in the world. And man, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I don't know anything about Washington State. I'd be lying to you to say I did. I don't want to play them either, but I'd rather play them over these 2 guys.
Yeah, I think Washington State, a good rebounding team. They can't shoot threes. They beat Arizona twice, and that's why they're kind of a 7 seed even to begin with. Looking at their wins and losses, Arizona at Arizona is an incredible win, and then they beat them when they were at home as well. So swept Arizona, but Washington State, again, kind of like South Dakota State, their strengths play into our strengths. They're just going to struggle against a team like Iowa State. They like to do what Iowa State wants you to do. So, I'm pulling for the Cougars. I hope that doesn't bite me in the butt. But like you, I don't want to see Drake. I think, like you said, Drake has nothing to lose, everything to gain. And then I think we're going to get South Dakota State's best shot. There's no dodging that. That's who we got to play first round. I'd much rather see Washington State. And then let's go, theoretically, we get past that initial scare of South Dakota State, Drake/Washington State. And then we're looking at, it doesn't get any easier, is what I'm saying. We got Illinois or BYU, most likely. Bro. So
this is the joke. Like, it's a satire.
Yeah. I wish I
didn't know this was the comedy club. I thought this was March Madness, but this is terrible. Like, I don't want people at home to think we're losing faith in our team. But guys, like, I've seen a team go on a national championship run, and the first 3 rounds were cake, like butter. Just Elite 8 me, please. Like, It was easy. And I'm not saying I want an easy path, but like, bro, that's the whole point of being good.
That's why we're a 2 seed. We deserve an easy path. That's why we've been playing our ass off the last 4 months.
Yeah, like, we're getting treated like a stepchild out here. This is crazy. And I'm just very conflicted because, again, like you said, say we do get past that gauntlet. Say we play Illinois. I don't like that either.
Nope.
Okay. Well, but what's the solution? We play BYU again?
That's the thing.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like that.
So Illinois, a little silver lining, if you will, turns the ball over at an incredible rate against not great defenses. Yeah. So if there's one thing, and also I think Taman Lipsey might foul Terrence Shannon Jr. out of the game just by taking charges. Terrence Shannon Jr. puts his head down 30 feet away from the basket, drives straight at the rim, and just sees what happens. I mean, he's such a big physical
Did he play him at Tech? Like, have they played each other?
Okay, no, I don't think so. I think Lipsey. I think he's been at Illinois for 2 years, so Lipsey would have missed him at Tech, I think.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
But none like or you put Keyshawn or Curtis, like that's a player unlike Tucker DeVries where we have so many good defensive guards that I'm just going to kind of live with it. They have Domask, who's also a good shooter.
That's what I'm worried about. The one shiny moment, it's not coming from Terrence Shannon. It's coming from the Southern Illinois transfer.
Man. But like Illinois, I think they play better into Iowa State's hands again than BYU, who looks like they were built in a lab to beat an Otzelberger Iowa State team. I mean, those guys.
Like 5 Marcus Domasks in.
And a guy that's
Khalifa.
6'10" that doesn't even care about buckets. He's just passing the rock like he's John Stockton.
My boy doesn't even do his hair. He's just like, give me the headband. Let's go.
Let's get out there. I'm gonna get 7 assists, 3
Dish.
rebounds, 0 for 1 from the field.
Just doesn't care. It's crazy.
So
yeah,
man.
I mean, and then okay, we've talked about that, right? The theoretical Sweet 16 matchup. Toss it up to we go back to the top.
Right.
We could potentially be playing again, and this is like worst case scenario, we play UConn in the Elite Eight, but like on the hope of an upset, Auburn.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When will bro? I'm straight up not having a good time right now. Like there is no break, and like as tough as a team is, it's like, yo, these are 18 to 22-year-olds. We'll take Trey King into the exception. He is 24, but I digress. Like they can only do so much, and our play style to play that as hard as we do for 6 games straight, we even got to know just like, all right, we can take our foot off the gas.
Right.
I mean, guys, like they don't want to see us win, man. They do not want to see us win. If the committee said, you know what, we really do want to see Iowa State make it to the Final Four, they'd be lying to you. They're lying straight to your face because they're showing it in their actions. This is crazy. This is devious work, and people need to be fired for such. Like this is, man, I don't even know what to say. It's like this is so overwhelming. It's like you get to the Final Four and you're like, bro, y'all can have it. Like, there's more. Like these are the biggest games. Okay, and again, I want to have a confident mindset going into it because TJ and his team have a confident mindset right now.
Right.
That's great, but human nature is human nature, and I think that element of the human experience is kind of illustrated the best in March Madness. Like you are just kind of a product to your environment, and when your environment looks like the basketball equivalent to like a World War II, I don't like your chances of making it out, in one piece. We might lose a few.
Yeah.
We might have a few fallen soldiers by the Elite Eight.
Yeah, Elite Eight, like you said, Auburn, who to me looks a lot like UConn from last year, technically a 4 seed, but man, if you look at, what they do, they're top 10 in offense and defense, according to Ken Pom, the only team in the country that has that. And then Janai Broom might be the best standalone player in the whole region, and he plays for Auburn, best two-way player at least. And then UConn, who, if you didn't know, the number 1 overall seed, defending national champions, somehow look better than they did last year when they won it all. So it feels like we're trying to do ballet in a minefield. Like at some point there's just too many things that could go wrong that I think a Final Four, I don't even know who we could play in the Final Four. Haven't even gotten that far.
It's like you can't worry about that right now.
Right. I can't even fathom to get out of the East. And on top of that, we got to play UConn in the Boston Garden. So why not? I will say the one saving grace of this, Nigel,
oh my God,
miraculously makes it that far. If they get to the Boston Garden playing UConn with a Final Four on the line, if I somehow, by the grace of God, am in that building that night, that will be a top 5 moment in my career, probably for the rest of my life. The Boston Garden, one of the most premier arenas in basketball lore, history ever. Playing UConn, the defending champs. Like this is one part where I do get kind of romantic about the media twirl of it all. Like the lights will never be brighter. Like that moment will be possibly the biggest moment in Iowa State basketball history if they can get through the hell that is between South Dakota State and that matchup, if it does come to be.
And this thing, man, you're talking about the Elite Eight.
Right. We're too far down the road.
You're talking about the Elite Eight. And man, it's like, that's like having the Elite Eight in Omaha.
Right.
For UConn. You're going to have Ben Affleck and Mark Wahlberg sitting, courtside, talking about freaking Cyclones, eh?
Dunkin' Donuts everywhere.
Man, I'm not trying to hear that. Like,
terrible.
That's, man, oh my God. Wow.
Kemba Walker probably sitting courtside. Just why not?
But man, I have an extreme problem with all of this, and it's again like I get the wanting to be romantic about the tournament. I get it, but if you can go down the each year. Every tournament has a tournament hero.
Yeah.
Like you can go year for year. Last year, FAU and San Diego State. The year
Right.
before, St. Peter's. You could even throw UNC in there, given the fact that they were a 8 seed.
Right.
And then I'm trying to think, the year before was COVID, so that was a weird tournament. But 2019, you got Auburn making it. So, like, man, and then it's like, okay, now all right. I just named some of those teams, right, that had made the Final Four, through a lot of odds, and they're all in the same region. Like that was just 5 years. That was the last 5 years. And we're like, let's put them all in the same region. First weekend, let's see what happens. Like, bro, we're just not using our heads. And I think it's because the turnaround from the regular season, this conference tournament to Selection Sunday is entirely too fast.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, let's just like try to get as many blockbuster events as we can in the first weekend, because I feel like they're gonna start to lose people, and it's like, nah, bro. Like the key is to gain people throughout the tournament, and I don't think this is the winning formula. So again, stop letting True TV, who doesn't air anything but The Big Bang Theory all year, all right, like have input on your decision making when it comes to seeding people, because it's a joke.
Yeah. The way and I've seen it on Twitter already, Iowa State fans, last night was just kind of doom and gloom, where I think I still am. Nigel, I think you're right there with me. I've seen some Iowa State fans start to turn around and be kind of like you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's never easy. All the teams are good in March. Yes, but, the committee didn't have to totally screw the East region. The committee could have done their job, is what I'm saying. Like, two things can be true. Iowa State's going to have to play incredible basketball, beat great teams, no matter where they are. But we earned a 2 seed. This is the best Iowa State basketball has been seeded since I was 1 year old.
Yeah.
So, like, we deserved an easier path, is what I'm saying. We didn't get it
because no team is bad.
Yeah.
Like
every corner you turn, there's a way for Iowa State to lose. From day one to second round to Sweet 16. There's not that my dream scenario. We beat South Dakota State. We draw Washington State. Illinois turns the ball over 30 times. And then we somehow see UConn or Auburn. There's really unless there's some crazy upsets in the top half of the bracket, I don't really know how it's not going to be UConn or Auburn.
Bro,
there's just no easy. There's no good road to the
UConn in the Garden is insane.
It's tough.
Like, do you know how deep the Hurley family is going to be?
Yeah, they're gonna be riding heavy.
3 generations of Hurley, of national champions in the building. Oh my God! Look, man. I know TJ's got that dog in him. I know a lot of our guys got that dog in him. But if you can battle those odds, I don't care who else is in the Final Four. I really don't. Like, come at me, please. Because I think, the toughest, at the end of the day, like in life, the toughest waters make the strongest sailors. And I feel like this is by far the strongest sea. So let's start rowing our fucking boats. End of story.
It's a hell of a sea.
Yeah, I'm tired. I had my moment to feel sorry for myself. I shouldn't. I'm not playing a possession in this tournament. But, let's, like you said, pull the bootstraps up. And let's get to work. Because I think the fact that this is the best seeding that we've seen in our,
basically our
lifetimes.
Right.
Like, if any team's going to be dealt with these odds, it's this one. Yeah. So Milan's got to stay in the gym, getting shots up, channeling his inner Larry Bird, Dirk Nowitzki hybrid. And, everyone's just got to be on their game. Curtis, I think Curtis, as big as he's been all year, man, like, there is no other time to be bigger.
Yeah.
And again, I know Keyshawn may not have the best NBA stock right now, but there's a tournament, man. You take this team through this bracket to the Final Four, you might be able to declare early.
Yeah.
And, change your life for the remainder of your life, if that makes sense. But I just think there's a lot of great opportunities, and you're either going to fall or rise. And I think this team has it in them to rise. It's just gonna every game is gonna feel like Kansas State, Michigan State, Sweet 16 game last year, like that intensity from start to finish, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna be easy, man. But I guess we signed up for it, so
Another thing I do want to preface, and I feel like this happens almost to a fault, where if Iowa State fans love the draw we get booted first round. We saw it last year. I liked our draw. I thought we were going to be able to handle Pitt once they won the play-in game. I said, they don't scare me. They can't score either. It'll be a rock fight. I think we come out on top. And the famous year was
Blake Gibson happened, but
yeah, UAB. I mean, that year Iowa State was I think they were the most picked Final Four team from their region. Lose first round to UAB. And, we played terrible with Brockington and Tyrese Hunter going into the tournament, and we ended up in the Sweet 16. We were on like a 1-5 losing skid going into the tournament that year.
Yeah.
So you never know. March is weird. It doesn't look great. From the outside looking in, I don't like the draw we have. I think we got the East region as a whole is just hell. I mean, that is the group of death, if you will. Iowa State certainly makes it. I mean, we're one of the teams that is making it so hard for other teams, but, we also got to get through it. We're the 2 seed. We're expected by numbers to go to the Elite 8, and it is a tough path to get there. So,
yeah,
that's kind of my wrap a bow on it. Sometimes I feel like Iowa State fans, it's when we hate our draw is when we do well. Maybe that happens this year, but doesn't look great. I wasn't thrilled last night with the draw we got.
And for obvious reasons, man. For obvious reasons, I hope the committee has the moral compass to be like, all right, this was, guys, we tweaked, we were tripping. I'm sorry. You don't have to come out with a public apology. We're not canceling you, but it would be good to all y'all get on a group FaceTime and be like, yeah, we might have crossed a line.
That's our bad.
Yeah, we'll learn from this and we'll move on.
My dream is there somewhere last night, TJ Altenberger was just smoking a cigar looking at the bracket. Nigel, I'm not sure if you've seen Uncut Gems, but when Adam Sandler says, "This is how I win," I hope he was just like a super villain somewhere last night, just plotting on the downfall of all these teams. Because if there's one, like you said, if there's one team, if there's one coach, they play this hard, I feel like they already got boulders as chips on their shoulders. Like, this is a team that's going to take this disrespect and just channel it into hatred, and it's just going to make other teams have a living hell for 40 minutes. So, I mean, if there's one team to do it in my lifetime, it's a team as tough as the team we have now. But man, did we get a tough draw. That's why I'm at.
God makes his toughest battles for his toughest soldiers. That's what I'm taking from this. And
Amen.
You're tough. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. We'll be all right. Cyclone Nation, we will be all right. You know who won't be all right? Duke. I swear to God, these guys are going to lose to James Madison in the round of 32. They are so cooked.
Hey, you got to get past my Vermont Catamounts before you can even face the James Madison Dukes.
You know what? You're right. You're absolutely right.
So let's pump.
Regardless, you're losing to a 13 or 12.
Yeah, that's tough.
You're cooked.
That's another place where, like, Duke, Wisconsin. Oh, who can remember a game between those two teams?
We all remember this iconic game of Comiskey and Julio Okafor.
Shut up! God, just play the game. They're a 4 and 5 seed this year. It's not even that captivating. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I knew that would fire you up. I just had to get you one more time. Nigel, sorry. I would ask for Final Four picks. If I'm being honest, I saw the bracket release last night. I was knees deep in DPI. Haven't even looked at the full bracket. So do you have just a glance of a Final Four? I'm not sure. I could just wear one off, but I'm not confident in it.
I haven't done a full official bracket yet. I'll put that one on Twitter in a bit. But I got Tennessee coming out the Midwest.
Okay.
I got Houston coming out the South.
Yep.
This West bracket is garbage.
Yeah,
absolutely atrocious. But man, it pains me to say this, but
is he taking North Kakalaki? Oh, Arizona. Caleb Love.
Arizona.
You're
And
bored.
there's one thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna call it how it is, and I'm gonna stand on business, like our great friend Drewski. I got Iowa State
Wow.
coming out the East region.
Onions.
I got them coming out bloody and bruised, but they're coming out. Period.
I think
So-
I got Auburn out of the East, Houston out of the South. I think Tennessee out of the Midwest. And I really think the West is where you could see like a 9 seed or just like some crazy stuff happen. The West, I think, is by far the weakest region. I don't like Bama. I could see St. Mary's making a run. They play defense at an incredible rate. I think the West will be my hardest one. It's almost the opposite of the East, where I don't feel confident in nearly any of those teams to make the Final Four. And in the East, if they're in different regions, I'd feel confident with
multiple teams making
4
the
or
Final
5
Four.
teams. Right. So,
And that would be a good Final Four. Like
Right.
that's what the committee messed up on. Is like that. A lot of those teams, bro, you're like already sabotaging the Final Four. Which, if that's going to be the biggest moment of the tournament, like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We stop appease. I hate how every sport is trying to. Well, let's navigate to the casual fan, the person who doesn't care, who's only interested in Taylor Swift's cameos in the first 2 rounds of this big tournament. Like, let's accommodate everything to them, because that's what really matters, is the casual dollar. No, it's not. It's definitely not the people tuning in every week and keeping track of most games to their best ability, like sickos like you and I.
right.
And it's a joke, man. It's a joke. Like, the fact that North Carolina got the 1 seed after the weekend they had, and then let's put them in the easiest bracket too.
Yeah.
Like, can you not make it more obvious? Like, if you're gonna do sneaky shit, be sneaky. Don't put it in our face, because you're calling us stupid without calling us stupid. All
They're
right, like,
saying
we weren't gonna pick
quiet
up on
part.
this.
Yeah, they're saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, and man, I need to get off this. I need to go do some push-ups. I'm
ready to run through a wall.
I know TJ. No, TJ wasn't smoking a cigar. He was just doing chest,
Yeah.
like
Just doing
up
pull-ups.
line, just like,
Yeah.
okay. South Dakota State noted. Drake noted.
Awesome.
Like, bro is locked in. And Keyshawn Gilbert, I know y'all saw that video.
Stone Cold.
I haven't seen that tuned in of a player since John Morant took on Marquette in the first round. Had about 30.
Keyshawn Gilbert looked mad that they're in the tournament.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
And that's a kid who hasn't been to the big dance yet.
He's living in a tunnel right now. His eyes are set on gold, and he doesn't even know what's happening to his right or left. That man is locked in.
And while we're on the topic of Keyshawn, equipment managers, if you have sleeves for Keyshawn,
Throw him
burn
away.
them.
Throw him away.
Burn them right now. Okay.
If we see Keyshawn Gilbert in an undershirt, that's going to be Frosted Tips 2.0. If he comes out in an undershirt against South Dakota State, I'm turning the game off and watching something else.
I just need a fan. Hear me out. Jim Carrey, if you're listening, somebody, I don't care who, go out and tackle him and be like, this isn't you. Shake him. This is not you. So that can happen. We need a sleeveless, maybe throwing an arm sleeve if you're feeling fancy, but let the tattoo show, Keyshawn. Yeah, that's when you're really him.
Put the dreads up.
Yeah. Channel your inner John Morant. Like, I'm not joking. Like, that might get you to the league. Like, you go through this bracket, that's enough. Like, forget the regular season tape. They don't even need to watch that. Just watch this. Watch how you made it through World War II-esque Vietnam style bracket, and like, watch how many NBA executives start hitting your line. I'm serious. This could be a life-changing opportunity for a few guys on this Cyclone team, especially our older guys too. Hassan, Trey, Rob, if they want any professional, have any professional desires, this is a time to really showcase what you can bring to a team.
Nigel, before we get out of here, I got to just throw Doug Gottlieb's going to get hit by a stray right here. I don't know if you saw his tweet. He said, Iowa State's a great team. I couldn't name a single player on their team, but that, like, they could make a deep run. And I think it's always the backhand compliments. Right. Watch some basketball, man. What are you talking about?
You're a goofy.
We're a 2 seed. You didn't watch Big 12 basketball? What are you talking about? That just pissed me off. So anyways, I wanted to throw a shot at him. If you don't know a player for Iowa State basketball, you don't watch enough college basketball.
Yeah, you're just ruining your credibility.
Yeah.
And it just like stop. That's what I'm not talking about like ADs. Like,
Right.
because at the end of the day, these experts are coming to the ADs and giving their initial input because they put more time and effort into this decision making. So when I call people pencil necks, that is who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Doug. Okay?
Doug Gottlieb. That's
you. Man, I've said enough. I've cooked enough. I'm full. Okay.
We need the Cyclones to cook. The bracket is unveiled. March is about to get mad.
Duke is cooked.
I'm off Thursday and Friday. I will be in front of multiple TVs with an ice cold Pepsi in my hand. I wish you the best. I know these are stressful times for sports departments.
Yeah.
You have a tough bracket ahead of you yourself. Get some rest when you can. Any parting shots before we get out of here?
Like you brought up, I mean, the women's tournament did the same bullshit.
Yeah.
LSU's region is, can't make this up, Iowa. 1 seed. 2 seed, UCLA. Okay. 3 seed, LSU. Been there, done that. 4 seed, Kansas State. All right. 5 seed, Colorado. Really? I mean, dude, it's like they don't want a good Final Four. Like, let's just get Caitlin Clark. Like that's all we need. Because she's, man. And I'm telling you, I really think the identity of LSU this postseason is going to be, let's be the villain.
Yeah.
Like, we already pissed people off. We're not even we already pissed people off being ourselves. Let's double down. I think that's why Kim Mulkey is like really not trying to be as apologetic as Dawn for the whole, brawl situation. She's just like, if this is our identity, this is our identity. I can't run away from it, So I'm also excited for the women's tournament, but again, it is not going to be easy. It's going to be, again, you're gonna come out scarred.
Yeah.
You're gonna see some things. So
you might lose a limb somewhere in the middle.
Some of you, in the great words of Shrek, he was like, some of you may die, but that's a risk we're willing to take.
All right, Nigel. Iowa State, tough draw, 2 seed for the, I want to say second time, looking at my stats department.
We've had a decent draw the past few years, and we've crapped the bed outside of 2022.
So it's about time we had
Ohio State.
Yeah,
we had a 6 seed, and we lost to just a mediocre Ohio State team. So, and that was with some of our best NBA talent, mind you. So, again, you don't have to have dudes to make noise in the tournament, man. You just got to have heart. That's all it is.
I think Iowa State, we need some madness, and it needs to be away from Iowa State if we're going to make this thing work. If that makes sense.
Yeah. You have a little bit of luck, man. Like this, it is impossible to win sudden death games without a little bit of luck. Teams I would pray on our downfall, just in the East. FAU. Let's say they stand on business and they say, UConn, catch one of these. Give them a quick uppercut. They're done. Out. Crazy. Dan Hurley's taking his shirt off. He's trying to fight. People have lost their minds.
Yale, shout out Ivy League. Just do it. Outsmart them. No? Okay.
No. If anything, I would rather play Auburn than UConn. In Boston?
Yeah, maybe in Boston. Auburn's good.
I know.
I'm going to walk into traffic if we keep talking about the East region. So I think
let me chill.
I think we need to get out of here, wrap a bow on this thing.
Yeah.
Nigel, go Clones. Let's see what they can do.